Fascinating. Fascinating. That is very interesting. How you doing? That is very interesting. Who are you? And where do you come from? I am, in theory, now live. If I am indeed live, just please let me know in the chat, because then I'll know that we're all good. I do believe that it's the case. Let me know. Yes. Oh, well, that's just wonderful news, isn't it? So, it's so nice to see you. I'm in North London right now, and I have to say that it's just so sunny today. It's a beautiful sunny day. One of the warmest days I've ever seen or felt. And it feels like summer, it really does. I know it's still technically spring, but it's nice. It's very nice and warm. So I'm in my sun hat to protect my skin, wearing glasses because there's no reason why. I don't really need to wear glasses, but the whole thing is so interesting. Yeah. So, okay, see all of you guys in the chat just ticking along. Welcome indeed. This is the Logic Session deconstruction of my new single, All I Need, which is a song that I composed in this very room. In fact, I can actually show you the room I'm in right now. And apologies, it's just so messy right now, so messy. But this is my my humble abode. I'm wearing my fancy, colourful trousers today because it's so summery. And so this is the room, that I grew up in. As many of you guys know, I learned to walk in this room as a 1-year-old. And I've since been mucking around with music, and I've done so for a long, long time. Well, about 25 years, I suppose. And it's a nice place to spend time. So this is your home for the next few hours. Welcome if you're joining. Yes, indeed. Very nice to see you. So, I guess it's about time we get started, because obviously you guys are so busy nowadays that you probably have other things to do. But I'm gonna tear apart this Logic session. A few statistics before we get started. One statistic, well, really the only real statistic, which I feel is important for you to know, is that this Logic session just so happens to have broken my record for the number of tracks in a session, and I'm going to reveal this number right now. If I just switch to my screen view. 646, very good, high score. Congratulations, Jacob. So I'm gonna talk you through all of it, and some of you guys might be wondering why the tracks aren't going in order. It's actually because some tracks are hidden, like the tracks that I didn't need to use, like muted regions and stuff. May as well not get it to be cluttered. I've cleaned it all up for you to enjoy. So welcome to the session. Man, this one was a beast to mix. I can tell you, there's a lot going on. And I haven't really made a song that has felt exactly like this one has felt before. It's kind of the first time I've attempted something that is a sort of bopping or banging or these kinds of adjectives as this one. But wanted to give it a shot. There are a few sort of mid-tempo bangers in the history of the world that I've really enjoyed. One of them, for example, being "A Boy" by Charlie Puth. Don't know if you guys know that song, but it's just such a banger, and it's so mid-tempo. And so it's been on my list for a while. Like write a mid-tempo banger, kind of euphoric, incandescent mid-tempo banger at some point in the album, and it was either going to be Jesse Volume 3 or Jesse Volume 4, and I figured that why not do it Jesse Volume 3, because I wanted to sort of incandesce. Those days where you just want to incandesce. So I did, and I wrote this song on December the 16th, 2019, just not too long ago, under half a year ago, and then it took on all sorts of brand new limbs, sort of as it gained traction and steam, and the mix became more and more difficult. So I'm going to talk you through everything, how it all works, and it's going to be really, really fun. But before we get started, I just wanted to play you a demo of the song, which I figured you might enjoy, because it's rough. So this is the demo that I wrote on the 16th of December 2019 for you guys. Well, I didn't write it for you guys, I wrote it just for me. It was completely a selfish exercise. Didn't know whether it was going to even make it onto the album. But it's actually kind of similar to the eventual song. That sound, the retro synth sound, which I'll explain in a minute, is quite similar. No lyrics yet. No lyrics yet. hello. I kept that in. Talk to me. That was kind of the lyric in the end. Basically the same. Cause every time I think about it, can't stop. I don't know what's going on. It sounds like that TikTok effect where it's like, woo, I don't know. That is all I need. All I need. I need chorus. And it's a bit gnarly because I had all these different ideas for what the chorus is going to be. It's one of the most difficult choruses I've ever written, actually. I kept going back and forth on different ideas. Back to the verse, I thought that makes sense. And then it gets all incandescent. So, figure you might enjoy that. That was where it all started. When I'm writing music, I tend to go really fast. I'll go like, and then hopefully something will stick. And part of the skill of being a sort of composer or something is learning how to let the flow happen, and then also when to let the flow stop, so that you add resistance to the flow, so that when you let the flow go again, it goes even further. It's like this perpetual flow distance competition, I suppose. But this particular song was kind of conceived of in that space, but the chorus, I kept going back and forth on it because there were all these different kinds of things I wanted to do, all sorts of melodies that didn't make it into the chorus in the end. And then the eventual chorus obviously sounds like this. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. So that was the journey of the chorus. I'm going to talk you through a bunch of stuff in the session, including sections and sounds and process and general sort of scrot. You know what I'm like. So why don't we start at the beginning? And here's this sound here. Now, this sound is a mixture of things. Some of you have been asking, what's the sound? I want to steal it, and I appreciate that. And I'm going to show you just how right now. So let's see, there are a few things going on here. There's the Logic Mellotron plugin, which I like a lot. So there's Mellotron. Oh, very nice. And it's mixed with this Omnisphere sound, which I actually can't remember the name of. Oh yeah, Toy Piano, classic. Yep. That's the sound in its rawest form. And I put some EQ on it. Right? And so then together, sounds like this. And then the other half of the sound is pretty traditional. It's like a retro synth sound. Retro synth is a Logic plugin. Well, I say plugin, it's like a virtual instrument, I suppose, but it's just this. And I worked with the Mellow Brass patch, which is just a preset, and I changed the attack here and the sustain within the filter, and it just kind of made it go wing instead of ew, like wing, 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 wing. So it's just a little jiggy. Join the two together, and voila. So that's that sound, and then there's a couple of other things going on here. I've done some EQ like this. This is the EQ, leaving space for the bass. So when the bass comes in, it goes like, boom, and it's like, oh yeah, that feels satisfying. So I didn't want it to be too bassy. If I play the sound without the EQ, sounds a bit like bacon or something. Just a little bit shallower, a little bit flatter. Very pleasing. And there's this plugin here. RC20 Retro Color, which I really like. It's almost like a tape simulator plugin, and it just kind of makes it a little bit. I'll turn it off and on again. That's off, and that's on. It's like slightly fuller, slightly more rounded, a little bit warmer, a little bit of discrepancy, tiny little bit of noise, like crackle noise and stuff, and a little bit of tube distortion. So that was that. I'm going to take off my glasses now, if you don't mind, because my eyes are freaking out. Okay, nice to see you. So, EQ, that's all very well and good. And then there's also this critical plugin, and I love this so much. This is called Lfo Tool, and some of you guys may be familiar with Lfo Tool. Lfo Tool is what shapes things. So every beat, it goes through this cycle, and it's actually a little bit misleading, timing-wise, but it goes 1, 2, 3, not like that. It's a very important plugin for a song like this, because if I took off all the Lfo tool, then nothing would have form and nothing would have shape. And the best example of this, fun you should ask, is in fact the chorus. And let's go to the chorus just right about now. And what you'll find is, if I can figure it out, I think it's here. Yeah. So this is the sort of euphoric chug thing which is going on. And if you look at this, for example, which is this, it's a pop chug sound in Omnisphere, I believe. It's probably not called pop chug. It's called Prince Combo Comp Bright, but spelt wrongly. And yeah, for a while I played it in, right? And then I phoned up my friend Ben Bloomberg, who some of you guys may know. And he said, actually, I'd recommend doing this with an Lfo tool, not just with manually. Because manually, you get the attack is a little bit messy. It has a bit of hair, a bit of arm hair around it. And so this, razor clean. And it's very satisfying. It's very satisfying to design a sound that is razor clean. And I wanted to show you something. And the thing I wanted to show you is this. These are the two Lfo tools which are on this sound. So when I play it, you can see what's going on here visually. It goes, that's one of them, and then the other one's just going. So it goes, if that makes any sense. And I'm the kind of guy who will obsess over whether it's this or this. And I figured out it was about there that worked best, because everything is about leaving space for things. When you have this many tracks, you have to make sure that there's enough space for everything. It's very important. A couple of other sounds. So this has like a really harsh Lfo tool shaper on it. Looks just like this. And this is, look how harsh it is, it's just unkind. It starts at absolute 0. And that's because when you add the kick in, you want it to be like, not, you want it to be like, it's the difference between elbow wiggle 90 degrees and elbow wiggle 20 degrees or something. It is very important, this stuff. So if I play the kick with this at the same time, you see that by the time the kick is finished, the other thing is begun, but they never overlap. Yeah? So it's this really dynamic kind of thing where the kick is speaking and then the other things are speaking. This is traditionally achieved with sidechain compression, which many of you guys may know. And sidechain compression is where you compress one waveform over the output of a different waveform. So, for example, I would send the kick to the synths, and instead of doing it with an Lfo tool, it would be going boom, boom. The synth would be compressing every time the kick happens, which is very traditional. But I find Lfo tool to be, as I say, razor clarity detail. It's very satisfying to draw it all out, if I say so myself. So that's that. And then there's this bass sound, and I can go back to the beginning and explain the bass sound at the beginning, which many of you guys have been asking about and commending, which I appreciate, in just one second. But since we're on the chorus, may as well finish the chorus. Where's the bass? Where is it? Oh, trillion. Here we go. Yeah. Oh my wow. So as you can hear, there's a lot of scrunch, and there's this Lfo tool on this track too, which is even more severe than the other one, because bass is unruly and you have to control it. So yeah, it only reaches 100% volume at the very, very end of the note. Otherwise, it's kind of just sneaking out the way of everything else and giving space. And yeah, if I play that, for example, with the kick, yeah. Again, see how they're kind of dodging each other. Very satisfying. And there's also a neutron thingy, just sculpting some space. Here, you see that this here, number 2, this is where the kick happens. And so I want to make sure that where the kick happens, the bass is not happening, so that everything is friends, and there's no interruption, everything's tasteful. And so I've just sculpted a little hole, and then if I open up my kick EQ, it's likely to be, oh, it's utterly flat. I'm not sure. Well, I guess the kick maybe just sounded so good that it didn't need an EQ. So the bass is the only thing that needed EQ. And so those things can now be friends. And then when you add in this stuff as well, all the relationships are important. But if you just had everything going, then things would be in unison. When things are in unison, things aren't interesting. In the same way that like when Pino Palladino plays with D'Angelo and he's on the back of the beat, he's playing at the same time with the same gravity as Quest on the drums, but he's slightly behind the beat, so the gravity is slightly different. And I love the fact that it's not in unison, even though it's aligned, if that makes any sense. Yeah, I like that very much. Euphoric, bright kind of like MIDI piano, because everybody needs that in their life. Now, what else is going on here, I hear you ask in the comments section? And the answer is shaker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Gorgeous. And then a great big whip of a snare. Seems to be three snares mixed together. That's a sample that I recorded in a music venue that I performed in 2017. I'm sure many of you guys know the story, but when I was playing in Manchester, I asked the whole room to get out their phones, which I never do. I don't really like people on their phones in gigs. And then I asked them to stamp and clap a particular rhythm, and that was very cool. And then they uploaded all those videos onto Twitter, and I downloaded them all, and I put them all together and compressed them. And it gave me like a ton of stomp clap samples, which was really satisfying. So that's one of those ones. That's a JC stomp clap sound. That there, it's just like a snare sample, and that's like a deeper snare sample. So you get something with depth, with a great big slap around the face, which everybody needs every now and then. And then there's this other clap, which I think is a battery clap. I do enjoy battery. I like myself. I love me a battery, a day in the battery, every now and then. And I made a battery sound here, which has a bunch of claps that I like. I'm not going to show them all to you because you'll just steal them, but feel free to steal the process. So yeah, the battery thing is here, and I have all these different sounds here that I put into battery, so I can play them in my songs like this. And so the claps all very positive, very 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 positive feeling. And then now let's jump into the vocals, because I know you guys are interested in the vocals. I'm definitely interested in them. So obviously there's a lot of different vocals happening in the chorus. Here are what Mahalia sound like.
So I'll be singing in the starlight underneath the moonlight. Oh no.
Oh yeah, there's 12 of them.
I love your smile and it makes me feel alright.
And she's so good. I mean, she's such a good singer. She's wonderful, very wonderful indeed. And I received all those tracks from her. She recorded it all at home remotely. In fact, why don't I just tell the story of how we how this came to be. So basically, I'd written this song, and I wanted somebody to sing it who was the right person, and I wasn't sure what that person was, but I knew that the person had to be like non-pretentious and just very grounded and very down to earth, and kind of just have a little bit of humor, but not be silly, and just be very genuine and very very sort of gorgeous of voice, and then suddenly it occurred to me that Mahalia was this person, but before then I'd recorded a lead vocal for the verse of the song, which was not Mahalia. And if I just mute Mahalia for 1 second, this is the fake vocal that I recorded.
Hi. I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came round. Oh, hi.
Oh, that's
I
Mahalia.
love the illumination you bring to all the ordinary things I found.
It was like this for the longest time.
Cause every time I think about it, can't stop thinking about it, you know. Cause you are all I need.
And so that's what I did. And some of you guys might be wondering how I did this, because it's not quite my normal.
Hi.
That's not what my voice normally sounds like. So in fact, I recorded this probably about this speed.
Hi.
Yeah.
Hi.
Very speed, my friends. Very speeder. I went down 3 semitones and I sang it in, and then I sped it back up again, and it sounds like that lovely sort of strange, slightly strange, effeminate vibe. Which I've really enjoyed experimenting with on a lot of Jesse Volume 3 songs. Like Time Alone With You is another one where or the It's a Beautiful Sunday Morning was all sort of effeminately stranged in the software using very speed.
Thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
And so it was just this rough vocal.
Hi.
And then obviously Mahalia sent hers in. It's way nicer. Oh yes.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so wholesome. And she sent me all these backing vocals too. Oh, those are muted.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
And so you have Mahalia in the middle of the operation.
I love thinking of all the
And then
kisses you
these like Mahalia ghosts, and these are all panned, hard panned. If you see down here, they're panned left and right, to be kind of just open-minded.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I.
And if I play those together, you hear that there's like a hug.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came.
One Mahalia in the middle, and then 4 Mahalias on each side, just to give yourself a little bit of and here's the kiss. Mwah. That was me. I did that. Mahalia ended up being muted there. Here we go.
I love the illumination you.
Same thing.
The illumination you bring to all the ordinary
Some wide vocals around the edges.
things I found.
Hmm.
Baby.
Gorgeous.
Ordinary things I found.
And yeah, so she recorded. I didn't finish my story. So she recorded this at home with an SM7, a Shure SM7 mic, and just sent it over via WeTransfer. And I downloaded it, and I was very delighted, very delighted to receive them. And then yeah, we went back and forth one time, and I said, hey, can you do this and do this, and had a couple ideas for harmony parts and stuff. And one of my favorite things that she sent through is this. Let me get my. Yeah, that's all I needed to do. Yeah, just a little bit of color. And again, I panned her all over the shop here, left and right, just to give her a little bit of width, breadth, distance. There are a few different axes in the creative process. Here are some axes that I like to think about. One is loud and quiet. Loud and quiet. Then there's high to low. High to low. And then there's fast and there's slow. Very nice. And then there's left and right. Right, moving to the left, moving to the right. Thick and thin. Things that are very, very thick and very dense. Things that are very, very thin and sort of sparse. And then there's, I guess then there's dense and sparse, not to be confusing, but dense being a lot of things and sparse being a few things. Whereas thick and thin is different from that, because thick and thin appertains to the nature of a sound. Like a bass sound might be thick, but it's the only sound that's happening. Or a sound might be thin, like one of Mahalia's vocals, for example. It's quite thin. No offense. And when something is thin, you can layer it up, and it's beautiful. And so sometimes when I sing and when I harmonize, it's nice to almost feel like the voice doesn't need to take up a lot of unnecessary space, you know? Like it can just be thin, ooh, almost like a sine wave, ooh, with a bit of flavor, a bit of breath flavor. Because then you can just do way more layering, and you can be way more expressive with an instrument if it's thin. So I think about, yeah, thick and thin, dense and sparse. Then there's long and short, which is nice. And then gesturally, there's up and down, which I suppose is an equivalent to left and right. Things moving up and down, which is different from high to low. Things can rise and fall without being high and low. And there's loads of them. But it's important. Oh, here's another axis, far away and close. And that axis is one I've recently fallen in love with a lot, because it's very easy to forget that you can move things away from you and closer to you in the production process using things like reverb, for example. I can talk about reverb a bit later on, but it's very different to have like and 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 not that I can do it with my voice because I'm just one distance away from you, but yeah, I designed this Jesse project a lot based on kind of on space, like distance and space conceptually, like volume 1 being far away, orchestral and far away, volume 2 being close and cozy, this room, volume 3 being a lot about like the funk that is found with the negative space, things being within you, like the darkness, the other side of it. And then volume 4 is about the re-emergence of space. I think I've said that a couple of times, but you know, and obviously within each of the arcs there are baby arcs, in the same way that within all of these axes there are baby axes, you know. There's like fully left and fully right and central, but most excitingly there's all the things in between hard pan, and just a little bit to the left, just a little bit to the right, just a little bit higher, just a little bit lower, you know. And you can zoom into the point of like microtones and weird subdivisions and bending things, like things that are bendy and wonky and non-grid based. I think those things are very interesting, and so I think that a lot of these axes are less about the extremes as they are about the kind of middle ground, and just utilizing a little sprinkle of something to get a little bit of magnetism, a little bit of gravity, or a little bit of flavor, a little bit of disruption, a little bit of expectation, sowing a little bit of a seed, a bit of surprise. And I love just using those things. And so, for example, the axis of high to low is obvious when you go low, but when the bass comes in the chorus of the song, it has more low end than the bass had in the verse, and that means it's even more satisfying to be introduced to the chorus, because it's like an not an axis, but like a zone was unlocked, like you unlocked a new level of bass, and so that's why the kick goes boom and opens up completely in the chorus. So anyway, I find these kinds of things very interesting to think about, and maybe you do too. It's hard to say. Anyway, now we're going to go back to the screen, and we're going to think about some other vocals. So Mr. Dolla down here. This is quite a thick sound. Ty's quite a thick voice. It's wonderful. And a lot of the high end is like, it's wonderful. It's so positive and so kind of open. I believe I took some low end out of his vocals. Yeah, I did. I took some low end out of his vocals because I wanted there to be room for the bass. So a lot of mixing is about sculpting around these things and giving him space. And predictably enough, I also put an Lfo Tool on this guy, like this. Don't know why it's like latent there, but yeah, you forgive me. So it just goes yeah, so that the kick has its room, and I think you get the point now. So yeah, Ty has been sculpting on him too, and I actually supported him here. All right, and then when you put it all together, get a wave of positivity. And I've got to say, I'm so excited to play this song live. When Quarantine's finished, and this happens in the crowd. It's gonna be wonderful. It's gonna be truly, truly wonderful. I cannot wait. This song was almost designed for big rooms, more than like little rooms. Though it was designed in this room, I recorded it in this room. So let's go back to the verse, shall we? And we can talk about reverb. I don't know if you guys are interested in that, but I'm quite interested in it. I've always, actually only recently, I've never really liked reverb that much. I'm not a huge reverb fan. I find reverb off-putting, and I never record with reverb in my ears or anything like that because you can't hear what's going on. It's like a placebo. And so this song is actually one of the first songs that I put reverb on my lead vocal. Hi. But it's very short, which is nice. And what I've done here, that's my greeting, my first line of the song. Go down here, and I'm sending to these buses of high numbers. And Altiverb is used, and Echo Boy is used. Let me explain what those do. So Altiverb here is the reverb, and Altiverb is a really, really cool reverb plugin, which treats like real impulse responses, and it goes and captures them in the world. All these different options of reverb responses. These are a bunch of EMTs, kind of like analog gear for reverb, and people have gone and captured them. And so I do like me an EMT 250 on a good day and a bad day, and I like it because it's short, and so it's non-invasive, but it also adds a bit of warmth to the high end. It kind of goes in a gorgeous way. Hi. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then the echo boy thing here is actually a delay. There's a little bit of a delay here.
Hi.
Can you hear that? Yeah. Subtle. But what it does is it lets it breathe. It widens it. And actually, it was again Ben Bloomberg who got me into delay. I didn't really like it until he was like, no, you realize that delay can be reverb in some kind of a way. You don't have to turn up the pre-delay or the attack on the reverb if you can have a delay. So thank you to Ben for the Echo Boy recommendation. Ben's been an Echo Boy stan for many years now, and I'm getting into it. Echo Boy is a Sound Toys plugin for those who are interested, and you can do all sorts of skullduggery within it. I would highly recommend this. So that's my vocal, and obviously the vocal is important. It's the most important thing to get right, I guess, because you need to feel that there's a person there. And so I did all of this stuff here, like sculpting it with EQ, making sure that things felt right. Took out a lot of low end.
Hi.
So that the bass could have some low end, and I accentuated some of the mids up here. There's a compressor, and there's also an exciter on the very top of the frequency band, so it goes. It's just gorgeous, very very much like that. And then if I move down here, what's this? Oh yeah, this is actually just like an old demo vocal, which sounds kind of a little bit mean, a little bit vague, but it's enough to give it a little bit of texture, you know? So I layer up the synth with the thingy, and the thingy becomes a thingy. And then there's this. You guys may or may not know a song by Heatwave called Central Heating. And it's a very, very good song. I highly recommend to listen to it. And this actually, I realised after I'd had the idea to record it, that like this was done maybe even slightly better than this on that song Central Heating, and I really like it a lot. So you go and check that song out. Just a bit of fun, and I needed something to bridge me from G flat to E flat. You know what I'm saying? Other way around. Yeah, E flat back to G flat. It's just like then you land in the lap of G flat major, and everything is good in your life. That was from the original demo, if you've been paying attention. So I like to keep things from the original demo if I can, because it's a lot of the DNA is at its most raw, it's most gorgeous in that scenario, in that the moment the idea occurs to you, something fresh. Now, a lot of you guys have been asking, Jacob, how do you make your bass sound so good? The answer is Trillion. Now, many of you guys will know what Trillion is. Trillion is an incredible thing. It's not a real bass. It's a bass sample pack made by Spectrasonics, who also make Omnisphere and Keyscape. It's very, very good. And so it's kind of as simple as that, really. Say no more. Hardcore funk slide down. That's the sound. And it sounds fab. Yeah.
Hi.
Gorgeous. I did play it on the bass at first, and then realised that it just didn't sound as good as this. If something sounds better than something, then often you go for the thing that sounds better. But bass is a nice vibe still for other songs. But this one just needed to have that like clean thing. I just love all the clarity that they recorded with. I can't do a better job. So kudos to Spectrasonics. Very nice. So Trillion is rampant across the session. Little things here or there.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
You know what I'm saying? Boogie. And then obviously the chorus we've discussed. This massive fat bass sound, which is great. And some of you I hear saying, Jacob, what's the bass sound in the chorus? And looks like it's a TR Complex Voyager sound combined with a different Trillion sound at the same time called TR Wall Shaking Deep Mini. So there you go. Now you know. A lot of the sounds they're just so good. And Trillion sounds go really deep, and it's important to learn how to control them. Another thing I learned from Ben Bloomberg is that things that go below about 50 or 60 hertz don't help anybody most of the time. But for this chorus, I actually left. See, if you look here, the reverb in the EQ, I have this nook here, but it's actually turned off because in the chorus, as I mentioned before, you want to have most unbelievable amount of low end that you've ever heard in your life smack you around the face because it feels really good. But in the verses, things are a little more controlled. And actually, I left that one off there too. Very surprising. Don't know what to say. I guess Trillion sounds are well recorded. But yeah, normally I would craft the low end a little bit. Trillion sounds just sound so good flat that often you keep them like that, and you only nook where things are problems, like with kicks and stuff like that. So there you have it. Here's a nice thing you may enjoy. Oh, charming. Charming. So this actually is a motif that's been going through the entirety of my albums, Jesse. And if you listen to the Jesse track Overture, yeah, it's the second track of Jesse Volume 1, kind of kicks the whole thing off. And within the Overture, and actually also with The Love of My Heart, there's a lot of motifs that appear throughout the whole of the quad album. And this is one of them. It's like the main motif. And in almost every song of the whole album, this is somewhere. I've made sure of it. And this is a few different sounds. There's this. Gentle sine bells. I actually nicked this sound, or the idea to use the sound, from Tom Misch. Once went to hang out with Tom Misch and he was like, my favourite alchemy sound is gentle sine bells. And I said, thank you. And then I now use that sound. It's great. Thank you, Tom. Glockenspiel. A little bit of excess twinkle because, it's good for the soul. Oh, lovely. Now, why don't we jump into the second chorus and figure out what makes this just so euphoric? There is one. There is one thing that makes it very euphoric, and some of you guys have noticed this. Kudos. But yeah, basically, I did a thing, okay, and I did a thing because I wanted to. That's why I did it. And the thing that I did done is that it goes up half a semitone for this last chorus. In fact, yes, that is the fact. So the first chorus here, the first chorus E flat, and in this chorus, E flat does not work, but works. It's like E flat half sharp or E half flat. And so yeah, microtonal modulations make me happy, and they make you happy too, even if you don't realize it. And so the second chorus just has this unbelievable placebo lift of like, it's almost like seeing everything for the first time. You've never seen anything like it before, and actually maybe you haven't, because the key E half flat is not particularly it's not used enough. You should use it, but I have found in my experience that it's not used enough. So this often feels like untrodden snow to many of the people who listen to the song, which I respect. And I love the idea that you're like hearing the chorus that you've already heard one time, but you're hearing it like as if it's the first time you've ever heard, not just this chorus, but anything ever. And I think that's what falling in love feels like. Actually, I think it's a matter of It's a matter of looking at the things in your life and realizing that you've never seen them before, because now you're in love, and it makes all the difference in the world. So you're looking at the like sky or pebble or tree or glass of water, and it's like, but all this glory, I didn't realize it was like this until you came along. I like this feeling very much. So, without further ado, let's talk about the second chorus, shall we? So yeah, as I mentioned, it goes up half a semitone to a key that does not exist in the traditional world. It doesn't exist on the piano, for example, but boy does it exist in the real something imaginary thing that I've done. So yeah. So enter even more synths than the first chorus, and I didn't show you these synths yet, but these synths, things like this happen. That one, the pop chug, the little choir. I think it's an omnisphere choir. And this sound here is one of my favourite sounds. It's called Picciarella. It's actually a sound made by Massive, which you may know. Massive is an excellent thing. And Picciarella is the sound, in With the Love of My Heart, where it goes, that's the Picciarella sound. And I really like it. for a few reasons. One of them is that when you hit the sound, it goes wah, 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 instead of eh, eh, eh. And so when you go wah, 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 it has like a monkey kind of thing. In fact, that doesn't have the monkey thing because it's a sustained note, and I did Lfo Tool on it. But it sounds like this, for example. It's a subtle thing, but makes a lot of difference. So you've got all these synths happening at the same time, and it's so euphoric. And obviously, they're leaving all the space in the world for the bass. There's also the choir. The piano. Oh. That is blank. Nothing in that one. More picturella. Sort of, yeah, in the moments where you need it. Yeah, system overload sometimes happens to me. So that's that. And then actually, on the subject of system overloads, I would like to quickly commend my computer for its very great patience and ability to crush sessions like this with so many simultaneous tracks. Yeah, it's wonderful. I recently got my hands on. I was very lucky, and I got my hands on a Mac Pro, a new Apple Mac Pro, which happens to have 384 gigabytes of RAM. That's the case, and a 28-core CPU in addition to that. So yeah, sessions like this, which may be impossible on like 2013 MacBooks, are now possible, and it's fantastic that they are. And I'm trying it out and putting it through its paces for a little bit, and figured that I may as well make a giant session just to kick things off in style. And I thought that In My Bones would be the craziest logic session I ever did. I think that one was in the early 600s, but 646, as I say, it's kind of crazy, and all these plugins running at the same time. It's great. Thank you, Apple. Gongs. That gong is very important. Oh, almost important as system overloads. Yeah? Because what this gong is actually doing is it's celebrating the chorus, and it's celebrating the chorus in unison with those guys. Let's say that one more time. 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 Excellent. So, yeah. If I open up these little track sets, you can see I've recorded each individual O myself. And they're all different notes, because very important. It sounds like a gang, you know. What happened? Oh dear. Uh-oh. I think we've crashed. Okay, sometimes we crash, and it's okay. And there's a hack for crashing machines, and the hack is that you change the buffer size from whatever it is, and then back again, and then you wait for it to reload all of the plugins. So while we're reloading the plugins, let me tell you about Ty Dolla Sign. Ty Dolla Sign, where do I begin? He is a giant. He's about 8'8". No, he's not 8'8". Don't know how tall Ty Dolla Sign is. Maybe you do. If you do, put it in the comments. I've been a fan of Ty Dolla Sign for such a long time, and we've been kind of like we've been mates for I suppose 2 or 3 years. We had a couple sessions in Los Angeles one time, which was really, really fun. So much fun. We were just throwing chords at the wall, playing a bunch of instruments, and yeah, he's such a maverick. He plays all sorts of instruments, from bass to keys, and does a bunch of singing and does production. He's just like one of these amazing guys. I don't think people realize how deep that guy goes, because you think Ty Dolla Sign and you think like all of these like massively chart-topping songs where he's the sort of like maverick feature, but the truth is that Ty Dolla Sign is a very deep musician, and he has his fingers on all sorts of strange pulses, like my pulse, for example. Don't know quite how that happened, but it's great. And so yeah, I was waiting to unleash the Ty Dolla Sign bomb on the world for a while, and with Jesse, I knew that it probably wasn't going to be Volume 2, and it was unlikely to be Volume 1, and so Volume 3 felt like the right moment. Now this song, All I Need, got to the point where it was basically mastered. Well, it wasn't mastered. It was pre-mastered. It was like mixed. Mahalia was in the session. I'd done it all. This middle section of the song was the only thing that I was unsure about, because it felt like I was going to maybe do like a synth solo in it, and that would have been fine, but not that interesting. And then I was going to do like a rap, but then I figured that I'm not that good a rapper, and so I started thinking about like what kind of rappers could do this song. And Ty Dolla came to mind, and then I realized that he's not a rapper. He's actually kind of a singer, but he also is a rapper. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, do you want to like maybe do a rap or do something on the song in the middle? Because there's this like Ty Dolla Sign shaped vacancy in the song." And he said, much to my delight, he said, "Yeah." In fact, he said, "Yeah." That's what he said. And I was very excited. So I let him just do his thing. And within 24 hours, he FaceTimed me. And he said, "Hey, bro, I've got something to show you." And I said, "That's great." And then he hung up the FaceTime and he sent me a video. And the video is of him just sort of freaking out in the most wonderful way vocally to this song. And he just pressed play and he was singing and he was playing other things that he'd sung as well, bits of the song that he'd recorded. And I've like never heard anything as joyous in my life. It was just so extravagantly joyful. And he was going like up and down these ridiculous pentatonic runs, but he heard all the harmony that was all changing, which was incredible. Because there's a bunch of weird stuff that goes on here. Not only does it consistently change key from G flat to E flat, but the chorus goes through a bunch of weird changes too. Not to mention the microtonality of the final chorus. And he just heard it all, and he sent me all these tracks, all these runs, and it was just the coolest thing I've ever heard. And so I knew then, and I know now, that Ty Dolla Sign is a beast, and that he was the perfect collaborator for this song. And I'm so glad that he was quarantined at the same time as me and had time to do it. It's really, really great. And so returning back to the Logic session, which is now fully loaded, I'll have you know, I can play you some of the Ty Dolla Sign stuff that just made me so excited. Oh, fascinating. It's still not working. Interesting. Okay, well, why don't we restart Logic? I'm going to close my Spotify, and that's my oh, look at these comments. Jeez Louise. And that's my my notes, and I'm going to close that too. Okay, so I'm going to save the session, as you guys often remind me to do, and I'm going to quit Logic. And now you can look into the trees. In fact, you might want to look at my face. And yeah, we're just gonna reopen the session, and then we can finish the Logic session breakdown. While we're reloading, I can obviously continue to talk to you. But why don't you give me some questions in the comments? If you have questions, then give them me, and I can maybe answer them about this song, because I've seen a lot of questions come up about it, but I don't often have the chance to answer said questions, and this seems like a very relevant time. So bear with me while Logic reloads. Let me just get the session loading again. Okay, loading up. Very nice. Any questions? Let me know in the comments section right about now, if you feel like it. How many vocal tracks she send you, and how many it ended up just from her? Pablo's asking this question. Thanks for the question, Pablo. She sent me a whole Logic session full of, she being Mahalia, sent me a whole Logic session full of tracks, which is like my kind of girl, you know what I'm saying? It's like stacked full of tracks. And I then took the session apart, and I probably used about probably about 83% of that actually I used, and because it was all so good, I didn't want to not use much of it. So yeah. Whoa. Okay. There's a lot of questions. Okay. How are you? There's a question. I'm pretty good actually. Thanks for asking. Gone to bed too late recently, so I just woke up in time for the stream in London at like 4 p.m. Very strange. That's good. Okay. Have my babies and something? Well, I don't know about that. I don't know you. I'd have to do a bit more research, and maybe we could hang out and spend some time together before making this kind of decision. Is this the new summer hit? Saying that yes. Sock, I say. Well, there's a lot of comments. This is difficult to read. How do you use Vocaline? No, I don't use Vocaline. I do it all manually actually. Okay. can you show us the video of Ty? No, I cannot show you the video of Ty because there's some bad things in that video that you don't want to know about. Let's see. Or do you know the Vina instrument? I don't know that instrument. I should check it out. How do you record vocals with all those birds in the background? Yeah, the window is open actually, and the birds are often singing. But I like it when things leak into my music that sound like my life. It makes me happy. Collab with Kendrick? People asking. Well, sure. I'm just waiting on Kendrick. Can we make a song together? That sounds fine. Wow, this is a lot. Suck teabag. Don't have any teabags available to suck, but I appreciate the sentiment. Geez, Louise, indeed. Wow, favorite. Laugh my fucking arse off. You're such a subtle savage. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. That's a compliment. What is the question? What? I don't know. You tell me. What is you? Is me? That's what the whole thing. Oh, Logic seems to have crashed again. I have a fix for this though. Let me just. And there are a few ways you can do it. One way of doing modulations to what I call cross-terrain modulations, like moving between semitones, is that you do it very sneakily with just intonation. And so, for example, I did an arrangement of a song called "In the Bleak Midwinter," and the modulation to G half sharp in the final verse of the song happens with a lot of sort of justly tuning skullduggery, where I'm stretching and pivoting intervals that exist in physics, so that your ear doesn't realize you're changing. That's fine, but there are other things too which are fine, and the things that are fine are just jumping to the key just because you feel like it. That's a nice thing to do. So I with this song, and also with Moon River, rather than like set up the modulation with sort of pivots and being gentle and being careful and moving slowly surely, I just kind of I just did it, and no regrets at all. Let me just, it's opening up. Okay, now it's opening. Not going to crash. Very good. Yeah, it's all done manually, I suppose. I don't use any like pitch shifters per se. I will just sing in the new key. But you can obviously pitch synths to be out of tune if you want to. It's a nice thing to do. Very considerate. And so yeah, you can do that, and the synths can be out of tune or in tune with the new key. And so things that are synthesizers you can change, like the value from A440 to like A457 or A428 or whatever. I think, but this might be A428 actually, the new one. But yeah, then you can basically sing along with that. It's not as hard as it looks, really. But obviously it's difficult to play piano along with it because it doesn't work. It doesn't really work. The key of E half flat is not on the piano. In fact, really, the key of that chorus is B half flat. That's the that's the honest truth of the matter. It's not really an E half flat, but the first chord is E half flat major 7. If I'm being honest, that's that. Let's see. There are a couple other questions as well. We're still loading. You'll be pleased to know. A lot of people ask me to FaceTime Mahalia. Mahalia is busy today. I already checked, but we're going to do an Instagram live stream duo at some point, maybe even on Sunday. So stay tuned if you like. You don't have to stay tuned if you don't want to. That's nice. Wow. There's some octopus emojis, which I appreciate. They're not questions. They're still appreciated comments. Okay, great. There's a lot of questions. I appreciate this a lot, but it's very difficult to. Frank Zappa ? Frank Zappa ! Well, lots of sad emojis. I don't appreciate that at all. Do the lick. I don't know what lick you're talking about. Have you ever fallen in love? This is one of these questions. Yes, I have actually. The answer is yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what to write the song about. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lovely feeling, falling in love. The Logic session is, I think, loaded now. So I'll answer a couple more questions, and then I'll get right back. Hearts. Oh, thank you. That's good. It's nice. Ooh, what's the book on your piano? It's a book of Bach. It might be. I think it's Bach chorales. Yeah, a mixture of things. I like Bach. It's one of my favourite people. And final question is, favourite tea? I think some of you guys know the answer to this, but favourite tea is licorice tea. And it's funny because I don't love licorice, but I do love licorice tea, especially when it's mixed with peppermint. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I love it. It's fantastic. So, thank you for all those questions. There are literally thousands of them, and it's wonderful to see. But I'm now going to go back to the Logic session, which, as you can see, has re-emerged. And I believe I was just about to play some Ty Dolla Sign vocals, which sound like this. And you heard those earlier on, but I wanted to finish my Ty Dolla Sign story with some actual Ty Dolla Sign.
Every time I think about it, can't stop thinking about it.
This is such a beautiful voice that guy has. He has such a distinctive sound. It's just incredible. Here's some more. So he tends to like punch in on the verses, you know? That's Ty.
Love the way that you get in the groove.
That's Ty. So good. Dripping with swagger.
Groove and what remains.
Things like that. Make all the difference. All the difference in the world.
That you are all I need.
I actually think this needs a bit more be natural in this chord. I'm going to record it right now.
All I need. All I need.
Okay, let me record a double track of that.
All I need. All I need.
Okay, that might sound better.
All I need. All I need.
I like that actually. I'm going to turn it down a little bit though.
All I need. All I need.
That's what it sounds.
All I
Yeah, I prefer that. My bad for releasing the song before it was
need.
finished.
You are all I need. All I need.
Yeah, that's colourful. Okay, it's kind of as simple as that. Okay, so
All I need.
all these vocals
All I need.
are often quick thoughts.
All I need.
Actually, I can't speak for Ty. I don't know how quick his thought was, but for me, yeah, a lot of the time it's like what I just did with the B, I suppose. It's like, oh, I feel like there's something missing here. Let me just strengthen it. And so a lot of these things here,
I love the illumination you bring to all the ordinary things I found.
those are really wide, kind of like mumbles, wide mumbles, which give Mahalia a little bit of context if I play them all together.
I love the illumination you bring to all the ordinary things I found.
Oh, that's nice.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
And the same is true. Just a little bit of doubling around the edges makes a lot of difference.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I came around.
Nice.
I love thinking of all the kisses you could give me if I.
Let's see. That's pan to the right, to the left, and to the right again. Makes sense. A little bit of width. It's all good.
Alright. Alright. Alright.
Cool.
Cause I love your smile and
You might not notice this, but it goes. That's what happens. Because it needs a little bit of euphoria. If I mute that, you will miss it. See what I mean? Yeah? It's like yeah. So euphoric. I really appreciate that. And so yeah, a lot of vocal support here. A little bits of celebration. It's like I copy and pasted that one. So at this point you pretty much know all the sounds in the chorus. Ty Dolla Sign, claps, snare, shaker, kicks. synth 1, synth 2, choir synth, bit of MIDI piano, trillions the bass sound, celebration vocal tracks, vocal harmony, and a lot of support. I guess I haven't played you my lead vocal from the chorus.
So I'll be singing in the star bright underneath the moonlight.
And yes, that is me, but I probably recorded it at this speed.
So I'll be singing in the star bright underneath the moonlight.
And so yeah,
I'll be singing in the star
it has that kind of
bright
feminine thing. And the vocals that Mahalia sent me didn't have a ton of high end because the SM7 is not the most kind of microphone, and Mahalia's voice is not the kind of voice which I really love about it. It's very mellow, but it's very well rounded. So I realized that I needed to have some things that were like really high endy.
So I'll be singing in the star
And so I recorded these kind of these vocals, and as you can see, there's a lot of effects on here. But the neutron effect, I'm guessing, is it's very severe. So look, I've cut out all this low end, and then there's this adaptive high end thing, which is adding kind of a lot of high end, adaptively.
underneath the moonlight.
So like the louder the track gets, the more high end it adds.
'Cause I love you.
This plugin is called Neutron 3, which I really like a lot. Isotope, they make fantastic plugins. And
'Cause I love your smile and it
so
makes
the role of this is very different from the role of this, for example,
So I'll be singing in the star bright underneath the moonlight. Oh.
which has very little high end. I pretty much took all the high end away, I would imagine. Let me see. Well, yeah, I guess I didn't really take the high end away. I keep on getting my I keep on assuming things about my EQ that aren't true. But this RC20 plugin, for example, the tube distortion is taking out some of the high end, so it sounds kind of gravelly.
So I'll be singing in the star bright.
And also, obviously, it's also one
underneath
octave lower. So when you combine these together,
the moon. I'll be singing in the star bright.
you've got the
underneath the
silky, excited thing, and then the like the vocal in the middle, and then Mahalia just kind of sits on the top of that, like the best kind of cake icing that I like eating straight from the tube.
So I'll be singing in the star bright underneath the moonlight.
Because she's got that kind of like beautiful layer. It's not like not stratosphere level of high end, but like natural high end. And then I've got the unnatural high end,
So I'll be
which is the industry standard nowadays for pop vocals.
I'll be singing in the star bright underneath
Just making the top of that thing just feel really special, you know. And I already should have showed you that one. So yeah, so that's all my lead vocals basically sorted. There's an awful lot of them, and then in the last chorus, I think there might even be a couple more.
So I'll be singing in the star bright.
We're going up half a semitone, as you know.
Let your love shine down.
All well and good. Alright. Some very happy people here. Alright. Yeah. Alright. It's like a playground of goodness. Alright. Alright. Feel free to set that as your text alert tone.
I will sing it till the sun.
One of my favorite things that Mahalia sent me with these ad libs here.
Let it shine, baby.
You know.
Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Love it. Some people have been asking me, what are the lyrics in the chorus? At the end of the chorus, are the lyrics in fact, "Let your love shine down," or "Let your love shine on," or "Let your love shine out." And all of these lyrics are right. I don't have. It needs to be what you want it to be. But Ty Dolla sang "Shine on." Shine on. That's what he sang. Mahalia sang down. Shine down, which is the one that I actually wrote. And then "Love Shine Out" is, I guess, a fan lyric. But they're all right, as Chris Martin would say. Like, there's not one meaning for the lyrics, and there's not one lyric. You should hear whatever you want to hear in it. But the official lyric is "Shine Down," for those of you who've been asking. I've got thought of something I can play you.
Wanna make you feel the way you feel the way I do.
Isn't that nice? And then
Do you really wanna call my name?
so there's a lot of vocals, and these are even more up here. These guys. Oh, they just kind of fade out. Oh, System overload sometimes happens. Oh, sometimes happens. Don't look at me. So yeah.
Let your love shine down.
I think that was probably from the demo when I hadn't recorded it yet and I wanted to see how it sounded when you went up and up and up. My favourite moment of the whole song is... Error. This bit's always difficult for Logic. For some reason it finds it difficult. I'm sorry, little fella. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, it's this chord. Ooh, which I guess is a boo. It's like a B half sharp. You know what I mean? B half sharp chord. That to me is like the climax of the whole song. It's like... And if I'm not mistaken, I actually wanted to do exactly that. And there's some gong. I'm sure there's a gong. If there's not a gong, then I don't know what I was thinking. Oh no, there are. Don't worry. Cymbals. There's the gong. Mr. Dolla. Yeah, reverse cymbals. Never underestimate the power of a good reverse cymbal. Excellent work. And there's also a lot of love shining down that I added here. By way of wind chimes. Love me a good wind chime. Especially when it's system overloads the machine. Nah, not going to work. But yeah, basically it goes, lay your love shine down, lay your love shine down, lay your love shine down. Real, true euphoria. A massive joy. Big joy. I did have a lot of joy writing this song, I have to say. Joy is the overriding emotion I would say I felt. I even felt joy when I had been up for 24 hours straight mixing before the day of mastering, and I hadn't eaten any food, and the sun had come up like 8 hours ago, and I was still mixing to my 1 PM deadline. It was still joy that I felt. Just about. Sometimes you need to be tickled by a kalimba. So that's what I did. I tickled you with a kalimba. It's a bit like, you know that song Toto? That song by Toto called Africa? It's a bit like that. And it just kind of like opens it out, you know? Cool. Good. And okay, we've talked about vocals. Just having a look around. Oh, there is one thing that I thought you might enjoy. Pyramids you might enjoy. I think they're here. Yeah. You have to get fast at navigating these kinds of sessions. So let's see. There's some crotales or crotales, as I like to call them. Crotales are pure love. And right here I have a crotale per pyramid note. And here are the pyramid notes. I appreciate that. And so yeah, as you may have guessed, here are the vocal pyramids. And they happen one after the other, and then there's two of each of them. So here, for example, and different audio files, and nice. And I made sure they were all panned. Look at this panning here. Sorts of panning. And yeah, originally it sounded like that, but then I realised that I had to incandesce them just that little amount more. So the crotales a bit. I love crotales. It just makes such a difference. See, we accidentally entered into the mixing realm just then. All these yellow lines, yeah, and the whole session. This is volume. Most of the time I do volume, like here for example, I've put a volume automation on an entire bus, and this is a bus here, a folder of tracks that I can unfold and fold. Logic calls them track stacks. But yeah, there's a lot of volume automation that you don't see when I'm scrolling around. In fact, on almost every track, there's some degree of volume automation. As I say, mixing this was a challenge, and it's only a challenge when you realise what's possible. That's the thing. It's not like Yeah, like I could have left them all flat, and I probably would have done that back when I was like 20. But nowadays, I know what's possible if you get the gesture right, and once you've got a gesture right once, there's no going back. You have to do that amount of thoroughness again because you realise that it's possible to achieve a particular kind of balance. So yeah, it's a really nice process when you get into the mixing zone because you haven't. It's like it's not so much about adding tracks and removing tracks and changing tracks. It's much more about sculpting tracks and leaving room for tracks. And sometimes when you're mixing and you leave room for tracks, you realise that other tracks need to change, and then you go back and record, and you go back and. That's why I always mix my own sessions. And when I say I mix them, I also phone up Ben Bloomberg a lot of the time and say, Ben, can you help me with the sound? Because he knows all, that guy. But if I wasn't the mixing engineer for the session, then I wouldn't have the feedback loop that I get when I turn something down and I realise that I didn't need the thing at all, or that this thing only needed to be half as dense, or I needed to have an extra gong or a sprinkle here. All these realisations that occur to you when you're mixing don't occur to you when you're recording. So that's why you have to be part of all the parts of your process if you want to do your tastes the best justice. I guess that's what I'm saying. But what I was going to show you was not, in fact, the pyramids nor the crowtails. It was the fact that underneath all of that, on the second pyramid. Well, okay, I'll tell you the full story. I'd finished the mix. I'd like finished the mix. It was all in, and I think I might have even sent it off to mastering, like the first iteration off to mastering. I can't remember, but it was very, very, very late stages, and this is what it sounded like.
Cause every time I think about it, can't stop thinking about it. Can't stop thinking. You were all I need.
And I got into bed that night and I thought, man, I'm exhausted. My ears are so fatigued. I can't listen to any sound for surely months now because I've just been listening to sound constantly for so many hours. But there was one thing that kept me awake that night. You know, when you're kept awake by something, it's like, but something's not right. Something's not right. I need something, and I need something on the second half of this section. The pyramid section. I think I need bubbles. And so that kept me up all night. And so I added these bubbles. And then I slept beautifully the following night because it sounded like this.
Stop thinking about it. Can't stop thinking. You were all
All the difference in the world. All the difference in the world. Those bubbles made me so happy. Everyone needs some bubbles every now and then. And so that's what happened. I added bubbles, slept at night, didn't even need to take melatonin.
Can't stop thinking.
Because the bubbles were there. Textural bubbles. And so I was happy. I still am that they're there. And this section is, I guess, the section with the biggest amount of wonder in the whole song. So I wanted to add some wondrous noises. There's a triangle here. Wondrous. That's Ty Dolla sign. I'm just sort of navigating this by eye. Fake vinyl. Vocal vinyl. I think I did actually add some real vinyl in the end. Let me see whether I did that or not. No. Yeah. There you go. Just occasionally. This is the It's a nice vibe. A good vinyl. Some trap hats here. Sometimes I play those kinds of games with my hi-hats. It's like tonsil tennis, you know? Talk about being in love. These trap hats also appear at the end of the session. Yeah. I'm feeling kind of... That's from Jesse Volume 4. There's not a lot going on here, really. This is just a garage band kit, actually. Detroit Garage. Pitched it down a bit. Sounds great. Kept it in. Then there's some battery kicks. One's lower than the other. Birdsong for good measure. And so they're all friends with each other. And yeah, I guess to conclude the logic system breakdown, we could finish with the ending, which is nice. I think it's in here, and it's just this little lyric. You may have missed it actually because you were too busy vibing out with the outro with the fade out. But I'm actually singing something here.
When you leave me, I'm off alone. When it's time for you to go alone to your home, you got me calling out.
Isn't that nice? And then there's a second one here.
When you leave me, I'm off alone. When it's time for you to go alone to your home, how will I do without you?
That's it. When you leave me, I'm all forlorn. When it's time for you to go alone to your home, you got me calling out. So it's almost like, don't leave, don't go. I was just having such a lovely time with you. So yeah, as things fade out, it just kind of like cruising, you know. And you hear the motif come back. I'm sure you noticed that. This is Ty Dolla Sign complimenting the three of us. No better. It's short for no better. And I would also briefly like to brag that according to Ty Dolla Sign,
Jacob Mahalia Ty,
and I quote,
"We the best alive."
We are the best alive. I was joyous to hear this. And that also was nice. So yeah. So that's all good. You've kind of seen the lot now. I mean, we've talked about drums a little bit with kick and claps and snares. We've spoken about hi-hats, JC stomp clap stuff. We've spoken about the kick drums. We've spoken about the bass, trillion. We've spoken about synths and all sorts of stuff. I guess one other thing to mention is that in the majority of the song we have crackle. Let me just turn that up so you can hear it properly. Delicious. And so, yeah, to make something sound warm and lovely, sometimes you just add a bit of crackle and your day is made. And so this crackle goes throughout, and as you can see, I've automated the volume using the yellow line here. I've automated the volume up and down throughout. And it just gives a little bit of flavour, I suppose. It's that level, really.
'Cause every time I think about it, can't stop thinking about it. That you were all I.
Otherwise, it sounds kind of empty. And I love those old-fashioned recordings that feel just a little bit crackly. So I have all sorts of crackle in my on my hard drive. Some of which is like samples of crackles from records and stuff, and some of which is actually other things in my house. Like I have one of my mum cooking, like in the pan, and I also have one of my fire crackling. Back in the winter when we had fires, and I like using sounds that sound real, like the real world. The real world is so underrated, especially nowadays. That's just trillion. Wonder if there's something else. You know about retro synth. I'm just looking around and I feel like we've done a lot of good stuff. So on that note, I'm gonna conclude the Logic Session breakdown. There you have it. All 640. Oh, we've gone up to 648 now because I added those two. I added those two tracks, those two B naturals on the A flat minor cadence to the first two. So that really is my record, 648. If you in the comments have beaten my record of 648 and would like to brag about it, please go ahead and do so. I would appreciate that very much. Massive shout out to Apple for upping the track limit within Logic earlier this year, or at the end of last year, from 256 to 1000. Cannot thank you enough for your consideration. Really, really great. Thank you. And yeah, so really that's all I have to say on the matter of All I Need. There will be a music video coming for the song, you'll be pleased to know. And I've been working on it for a while. And I figured I'd let the song kind of just meander around and exist in the world for a while before I released it. And there's also some very exciting news about the song too, which I'm not going to tell you, so don't get too excited. But this song is has a couple of special things coming out with it, it is in a few special things in the very near future, so it's very interesting. So that's cool. Massive shout out obviously to Mahalia and to Ty Dolla, who alongside me, according to Mr. Dolla, are the best alive. They are really indeed great musicians, and this was all recorded in quarantine. I mean, I did all the instruments in this room, I did all the mixing in this room, the production in this room, and then they did their stuff from home, and I just feel so lucky to be able to do that and to have a room where I can kind of just be chilling out and spending time. And I'm in this room an unhealthy amount, as you can probably imagine, but when a song like this happens, it makes it all worthwhile. So yay. And I just heard that we hit 1 million streams yesterday, and the song wasn't even out for a week yet, so that's really crazy. And I really appreciate all of you guys for the loveliness and warmth and sort of joy that you've been expressing at this song being in the world. It's really gratifying to see, because obviously I just pace around this room on my own, just like being joyful and hoping that I'm getting it right, and hoping that I'm sort of second guessing my synth choices and trying to get the Lfo Tool to hit and make sure the kick is just the right level. All these kinds of questions, they evaporate in the face of your joy. So thank you for your joy. As I say, I'm just so excited to play this song live when we can get back on the road, which hopefully will be soon. I really hope it will be soon. Some point in 2021, I hope that we'll be back at it. I really hope so, because I've got some very, very exciting music to share with you. Besides this song, Jesse Volume 3 is this ever-changing, ever-growing beast. And so it's all very exciting. And the next one will be coming out quite soon, I hope, within maybe even just a few weeks. So stay tuned, lots of love. Thanks for tuning in to this Logic System Breakdown. I have an announcement to make as well, which is that on Monday, I'm going to be doing the longest live stream that I've ever done in my life, from this very chair, in this very room. Some of you guys may know I've been doing iHar Muse. Well, I haven't been doing them recently, really, but back in 2017 and 2018, I did iHar Muse, and I harmonized a bunch of people and their melodies that they sent me, and it's actually how I funded this album in my room. It was all the music videos were funded by Patreon, and on Patreon people sent me these 50-second melodies, and I harmonized them for good measure, and I uploaded them to social media. And that was like back when I had like 30,000 followers, and it was amazing, because it was just a really good exercise for me to just learn how to harmonize, and I got a bunch of production chops together because I had to do it fast. But there are still some melodies I received back in those days which I have not yet harmonized, and so I figured that I'm going to do an iHarmU marathon live stream where I harmonize like however many melodies I can get through, as many as possible in a bunch of hours. Hopefully on Monday this is going to happen, so put that in your diary. And I'm going to be raising some money for the people in my life who currently are without work, who I promised work to, i.e. my crew and my band from the tour, who I really hope will have work soon, because then I'll have work too. But I'm going to be raising money for those guys in this crazy time, and so that will be like open for donation. So turn up, show up. I'll be offering rewards to the top tippers. It will be on this YouTube channel, kicking off probably in mid-afternoon UK time. So stay tuned for that. That'll be a really good marathon, crazy live stream. So that's going to be good fun. So I guess I'll see you guys then. But before then, there's other exciting announcements coming. So enjoy. Be good to one another, won't you? And that'll be really great. Thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely day. Okay then. Okay, bye. Bye then. Bye-bye. Bye.